Good morning, everybody. As David said, I work for IBM. I look after the Home Office and Police. Following on from Warren, I guess I work for one of the oldest toy manufacturers in our business. We've been around for over 100 years. And what I want to talk to you about today is 3 toys that we make that aren't consumer toys at all, but could be potentially useful in the world that you live in and for joining up data. So as I said, I look after the Home Office and Police. I've been doing this job now for about 5 years. And very early on, I decided I needed to understand a little bit about what the police do day to day. And I went and spent a day down in South Wales with 2 police officers in a police car. Very exciting, I thought. I'll get to charge around with blue lights on and so on and so forth. Actually, it was an incredibly dull day. I think the only thing we did that was vaguely fitting was we had some donuts, which kind of, if we hadn't, it would have been a missed opportunity. About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we got an emergency call, so we did put the blue lights on and we charged around, and we ended up in a residential area in Swansea, quite a run-down area, and stopped outside this house, and the 2 lads said, right, you better just wait in the back of the car, Mark, we'll go and find out what's to do, and you know, if it's appropriate, we'll come and introduce you. And about 20 minutes later, one of them came out to the car and he said, I'm really sorry about this, you're going to have to get in a taxi and go home. The husband has killed the wife in front of the children. And it was one of those moments that for me was just a little bit life-changing. And I know a lot of colleagues in police get to experience these kind of things. I stayed with the case, and in fact I've been involved on the periphery of a number of cases like this subsequently. It turned out in this instance that he was known in 2 completely different police systems. In the traffic system, he was known for carrying a baseball bat in the car, and he had a pending GBH going through due legal process. She had turned up on multiple occasions to both primary and acute care with unexplained injuries, where she'd walked into the edge of a door or fallen downstairs or whatever. Worse yet, the 9-year-old had spoken to her primary school teacher about things not all being well at home, and social care had been involved via that route. And it turned out in this case there were some 9 different data points across different public sector systems that actually, if we had a joined up view of that, we potentially could have changed the outcome. What's been more interesting for me is it doesn't matter where you go and look, there are always multiple data points. And the example here is death through domestic violence. But it needn't be this. It could be all sorts of other things. And I'm going to touch on a few other topics. Now, to lighten the mood slightly, let me just show you a video about predictive capabilities.
I used to think my job was all about arrests, chasing bad guys. Now I see my work differently. We analyze crime data, spot patterns, and figure out where to send patrols. It's helped some U.S. cities cut serious crime by up to 30%. By stopping it before it happens. Let's build a smarter planet.
So what are our challenges? Our challenges are fundamentally these, I think. Data is in silos. Every organisation across public sector has data in silos. Typically, it's because the way systems are bought is they're bought one at a time to solve a particular problem, and then they're not integrated and joined up. The data is often really quite poor quality. Certainly for a lot of my customers, their customers are perhaps deliberately obtuse about providing correct data. And often we get into a lot of the examples that Warren was talking about before, where actually people have other reasons why they wouldn't want data joined up. They're scared to share data. They take the least risky route to it. Perhaps they just feel they can't afford to share data. But it begs the question, can we afford not to share data? I want to talk now about 3 different technologies. It's not going to be a deep technological dive, just at a really high level, just to give you a feel for the sort of capabilities that are available when you're investing $6 odd billion a year in research and development. First up, a little bit about some capabilities that we have in our Watson portfolio. So, typical police report, clearly completely made up and perhaps not typical. We can all look at that and we can pull data out of that. But the way that police capture data is they tend to just capture whatever is said out of somebody's mouth, write it all down, and so it has no structure. Automating the process of giving that structure, so techniques that will automatically allow you to search for who is the perpetrator, who is the victim, what is the object of interest, and so on. Quite an important capability. The second technology I want to talk about is matching and matching engines. This is something that we've put a lot of effort into. In the IBM portfolio, it's actually my favorite capability. If we were to look at these two names and try and draw a comparison between them, I think we'll all agree that the only thing in common is it's a woman. Beyond that, these aren't the same person. But actually, when you start to look across multiple systems in your organization and you start to look for things, we as humans can see these things. Machines tend to do very specific, accurate matching. And this technology is something that allows, partly via rules, but also via learning, the ability to match data across multiple data sets and get to a point where you can very clearly resolve, as you would as a human, that this is the same person across all these different systems. This is a massively helpful tool for data quality type issues. And certainly not having some kind of joining up data capability like this within your organization across systems. An example of where this has been deployed, there's a couple of London boroughs that have deployed this kind of technology. It takes about 3 months to deploy it. You're looking at a bill of somewhere around £350,000 to £500,000 to join up all of your data sources. When they did this in Brent, they very quickly saw, once they got the housing system and the benefit system joined up, that they had a bunch of people who were claiming multiple benefits from a dwelling, but also claiming a 25% reduction in council tax for single-person occupancy. They wrote to all of those households and just said, make up your mind, which do you want? Paid for the system in less than 3 months. So very rapid returns on investment for quite basic technology capabilities. And then finally, once we've got our data nice and tidy and we've managed to extract out of it meaning, what can we do to join all this stuff up? Now, it's all well and good within an organization. Doing it inside your organization where you're happy to share data is pretty straightforward. The next leap is how do we share data with other organizations? And we're probably all fairly familiar with MASH type capabilities, multi-agency safeguarding, where individuals are sharing data. What we've done is we've produced a system that actually allows the automation of this process. So in this case, a local police system could make an automated request to a hub. Nothing is kept in the hub, and it is only ever going to resolve fundamentally publicly available information, names, addresses, dates of birth, that kind of stuff. But this allows us to figure out what do we know in other systems around the organization. Prerequisite, all of them would have to have some kind of master data management capability, but it wouldn't have to be the same. But then once you've done that, you can start to just wave some flags. So if I'm a police officer, I'm going to go knock on this house, on this front door. What do other systems know about this? Oh, there's a little flag over here that says that social care might know something about it. Contact this individual in social care. So we've automated the process now of sharing. We know some stuff, but we've not actually ever shared any data. And obviously, different organizations have completely different consent models. So for example, a social worker might be told by a parent that a child is involved in drugs and potentially theft. That information would never be appropriate to be shared with the police. The police model, of course, is quite different. Once they know something, then they have to do their best to do something about it. Let me talk a little bit about some more work that we've been doing in Brent on the back of the fact that we've got the master data management capability in Brent. We've been doing some work, a very sensitive topic, obviously. We joined up some data between Brent and the Met Police and started to look at risk indicators for children who are being exploited. And typically this is sexual exploitation. A lot of this tends to be gang-related. And we've built a data model now with these 11 separate indicators, and the numbers on the right give you a feel for the numbers of individuals that are actually affected. What's interesting here, perhaps, is not when you get up to the 8 children that have got 9 indicators, but when you get sort of midway up the stack. Now, the technology in Brent that allows them to do this, they really have joined up, and they get live feeds, for example, of school attendance records on a daily basis. I know a lot of councils will figure out maybe once a term or once a year who's attending school. In Brent, they're much more up to speed. But you can start to build a predictive model that actually allows you to intervene when a child perhaps hasn't shown up to school for 3 days. So some really interesting work that you can do once you've got these joined up data capabilities. And it doesn't just apply to that. There are all sorts of potential use cases. We're doing some work around modern slavery with Greater Manchester Police and the combined Manchester authorities. Troubled families and MASH work is something that nearly everybody is interested in, but everybody thinks this is too expensive or too hard to achieve. I've talked a little bit about child exploitation, and then the obvious use cases about identifying reoffenders. We're doing some work with Avon and Somerset Constabulary around that, and of course economic crime and the work we're doing with City of London Police. So hopefully a few ideas there about things that can genuinely be done, genuinely achieved with joining up data. It isn't as hard as you would perhaps imagine. It isn't as scary, and it certainly isn't as impossible as a lot of people would have you believe. So that's it from me. I'm here for the remainder of today. We have a stand just outside the back of the hall. I'm also presenting this afternoon on video analytics and some capabilities around that in one of the seminars. So if you'd like to come and hear me speak then, please do.